She said she loved you, then she left. He sat alone, staring at the empty screen. Her name still lit up in his message history, untouched since the last time she replied with a heart emoji and the words, "I love you." That was just 3 nights ago. No warning, no goodbye, just silence. She disappeared. He checked everything. Her social media, her stories, their old conversation, no argument, no betrayal, no closure. She had vanished from his life like a ghost, leaving behind nothing but confusion. His mind replayed that final night when she looked into his eyes and said, "I've never felt this safe before." And she meant it, or so he thought. But here's what no one tells you. She probably did mean it. She wasn't lying. She didn't play you. She wasn't being manipulative. She was being honest in that moment. What she felt was real. And still, something deeper pulled her away. Something beneath her words. Something she couldn't explain, not even to herself. Sigmund Freud once said, "The mind is like an iceberg. 7/8 is beneath the surface." The problem is we keep trying to understand women by only looking at the tip. We listen to their words. We take their promises at face value. We trust the smiles, the tears, the moments of intimacy. But what if those moments are only the visible part of something far more complex? Far more chaotic. Underneath, Freud believed that human behavior is not ruled by logic or choice alone. Beneath the surface lies the unconscious, a realm of buried instincts, unhealed wounds, suppressed desires, and primal fears. And in women, he believed, this unconscious could be even more unpredictable, more powerful, and more conflicted than we're ready to admit. This isn't about blaming women. It's not about labeling them as irrational or cruel. It's about understanding that even the most self-aware woman can be ruled by emotions she doesn't fully understand. She may believe she knows what she wants, but her behavior tells a different story. She might feel safe with you but crave danger. She might want stability but sabotage peace. She might love you and still leave you. The truth is, most men try to understand women through logic, through patterns, through what's said. But Freud didn't look at words. He looked at impulses, and he looked at childhood wounds, and he looked at sexual energy, at dreams, at slips of the tongue, at contradictions. He asked a question that still haunts us today. What if we don't even know ourselves? So when a woman pulls away, when she breaks her own promises, when she contradicts everything she said just days ago, it's easy to blame her. But Freud would suggest we look deeper. Beneath the anger, beneath the silence, beneath the rationalizations, into the unconscious. This video is not just about understanding women. It's about understanding the hidden forces that drive human desire, especially the ones women themselves might not be fully aware of. Freud's theories weren't comfortable. They were raw. They were controversial, but they were honest. And for anyone who's ever felt blindsided by love au moins, his insights offer a rare and piercing clarity. We'll dive into 5 uncomfortable truths Freud uncovered. Truths that explain why women sometimes do the exact opposite of what they say. Why they're drawn to danger even when they claim to want peace. Why they chase patterns they swore they'd never repeat. Why they can't always control who they love or who they leave behind. If you've ever asked yourself, why did she change, or why wasn't I enough, then what follows may not give you comfort, but it will give you answers. Let's begin. The iceberg effect: why her words lie. You believed her because she seemed sincere. She told you she was done with toxic men. She promised she was ready for something real. She swore that this time she wanted peace, not chaos. And you believed her, because she believed it too. But not long after, she found herself back in the same spiral, with the same kind of man, different face, same damage. And this time, you were left behind wondering what you did wrong, when all along, the answer was hidden deep inside her. Freud didn't believe people lie to others as much as they lie to themselves. He believed that beneath every conscious decision, there's a deeper layer, one we don't always see, and often don't want to see. He called it the unconscious. It's the part of the mind that stores everything repressed, forgotten, and unresolved. And it doesn't ask for your permission. It simply acts. It moves. It drives. It decides. Freud saw the mind as a structure with three levels: the conscious, the preconscious, and the unconscious. The conscious is what you know, what you think, what you say out loud. The preconscious holds things you can recall if prompted: memories, beliefs, names, dates. But the unconscious is the deep ocean floor. It holds buried traumas, repressed fears, hidden fantasies, and unprocessed emotions. It doesn't speak in words. It speaks in impulses, reactions, slips, and attractions. This is why a woman can look you in the eyes and say, "I want something stable," and mean it, while at the same time feel drawn to someone who brings chaos. It's not about deception, it's about division. There is a split within her. One part that wants safety, another part that only responds to emotional intensity. And when those parts collide, the unconscious often wins silently, invisibly. She's not playing you. She's not setting a trap. She's not crafting a lie. Her conscious mind may be deeply sincere, but it is not in control. The real pilot is seated far below the deck, making decisions she'll only try to justify afterward. That's how the unconscious works. It acts first. Then the conscious mind creates a story to explain what just happened. You've seen it before. A woman says she wants a kind man but feels bored. She says she needs consistency, but ghosts the guy who gives it. She promises herself she won't go back to her ex. And yet, one late night text and she's driving across town. The contradiction is real, but it's not conscious. It's coded. Freud called this phenomenon repetition compulsion. It's the mind's tendency to repeat unresolved emotional patterns, even if they bring pain, especially if they bring pain, because the unconscious doesn't seek happiness. It seeks familiarity. It seeks completion. It wants to replay the wound until it finds a different ending, even if that ending never comes. Think of it like software. What you see on the screen, her words, her intentions, her logic, is only the interface. What's running in the background, the unconscious, is the real program. And unless that code is rewritten, the same outcome will repeat again and again. Different names, same endings. One woman once told her therapist, "I keep ending up with emotionally unavailable men. I don't understand it. I always tell myself I won't fall for them again." But when the therapist asked what those men reminded her of, she went silent, then tears, then one name, her father. You see, the unconscious doesn't forget, it doesn't forgive, it doesn't reason. It operates on imprint and pattern. If a girl learns early on that love feels like unpredictability, that affection comes with distance, that safety means walking on eggshells, then her adult mind might reject those lessons. But her unconscious will seek them out like a magnet. This is why some women feel addicted to drama, even when they say they hate it. Why they chase men who mistreat them, while pushing away the ones who care. Why they feel pulled toward danger even when craving peace. Their unconscious associates chaos with love, intensity with meaning, suffering with truth. And here's where the real twist comes in. She's not even aware of it. She might cry on your shoulder and say she doesn't understand herself. She might journal about her confusion. She might go to therapy. But unless she confronts the unconscious directly, the cycle will continue. Not because she chooses it, but because she's wired to. This is not an excuse, it's not a free pass, it's an explanation. When you understand that people are not always aware of what drives them, you stop taking their contradictions personally. You stop trying to decode their words and start observing their patterns. You stop hoping they'll change because they promise to. You begin to understand that change only comes when the unconscious is made conscious, and that rarely happens by accident. The lesson Freud left us is uncomfortable. It strips away the illusion of control. It reveals that what we think we want isn't always what we actually choose. And in love, this truth can feel devastating, because you can do everything right, be everything she says she wants, and still lose her to someone who touches an old scar more than you ever could. You can be the man who gives her peace, but she might only know how to breathe in chaos. And it's not your fault, just like it's not fully hers. So before you try to win her back, before you blame yourself or shame her, ask the deeper question on what's driving her, who's in control. Because until she sees the pilot beneath the surface, she will keep sailing in the same direction, straight into storms she doesn't see coming. And you'll either become part of her pattern or part of her awakening. The primal override hormones versus intentions. She thought she wanted a man who made her feel safe. She told herself she was done with unpredictability. She even started dating someone who checked every box: consistent, thoughtful, emotionally available. For a while, everything felt right. Then suddenly something shifted. She began to feel bored and restless, less attracted, and conversations that once felt deep now seemed dry. His stability no longer felt comforting, it felt dull, and she didn't understand why. What she didn't realize is that her body was responding to a cycle older than her mind could grasp. A biological rhythm written not in feelings or logic, but in hormones. And those hormones have been shaping female attraction for tens of thousands of years. Freud focused on the unconscious mind, but in many ways, the unconscious is deeply connected to biology. One of the most overlooked forces in a woman's psychology is her hormonal cycle. We often talk about feelings as if they come from the heart, but many originate in the bloodstream. Throughout the menstrual cycle, hormone levels fluctuate dramatically. Estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and luteinizing hormone rise and fall in a sequence that affects everything from mood to energy to sexual desire. But more than that, research shows these shifts can influence a woman's perception of men, attraction preferences, and even her willingness to take emotional or sexual risks. During ovulation, for example, when estrogen peaks, many women unconsciously seek out men with dominant traits: strong facial features, deeper voices, assertive behavior. Not because they're consciously choosing to do so, but because their biology is signaling fertility. And with that comes a pull toward partners who display the kind of genes ancient evolution favored: strength, power, boldness. Studies have shown that during this fertile window, women rate alpha traits as more attractive, even if those same traits would be considered red flags at other times of the month. The irony: the man she's with might not have changed at all, but her hormones have, and suddenly, her perception of him does too. This is the primal override. Her intentions may be to find peace, to love someone gentle, to build something lasting, But her body remembers the past, the millennia where survival depended on choosing the fittest, the most resourceful, the most commanding. It doesn't matter that the world has changed. Biology hasn't caught up. And so the body whispers, while the mind protests. The body leans toward danger, while the mind says no. Stay with the nice guy. But that whisper is powerful. It's ancient. And for many women, it feels like confusion, like emotional sabotage, like suddenly being turned off for no reason. But it isn't sabotage, it's code. Think of her body like an ancient machine, a wild, organic computer built to scan for certain cues and respond with emotion before reason can speak. Her words may be the advertisement, crafted by logic and experience. But her biology is the factory behind the scenes, producing desire, attraction, and even repulsion based on chemistry alone. One man told the story of how his girlfriend became distant out of nowhere. She started arguments for no reason. She said she felt overwhelmed, disconnected, unsure. 2 weeks later, she was back warm, affectionate, deeply into him again. He thought it was something he had done. But it wasn't. It was her cycle. A silent rhythm was playing in the background, and he had no idea what song she was dancing to. Of course, not every woman experiences these shifts the same way. Some are more attuned to them, others less. But the principle holds: hormones affect perception, and perception affects connection. No matter how stable the relationship seems, her body might still be scanning for genetic advantage, for traits associated with strength, passion, or protection, even when her conscious mind wants comfort. And here comes the twist that most men never see coming. The more stable you are, the less her primal instincts might recognize you as a challenge. And the less challenge she perceives, the less stimulation her nervous system feels. Which means her body might interpret safety as dullness, even if her heart longs for it. This isn't her fault. It's not a flaw. It's biology. It's the legacy of evolution. Women were shaped for thousands of years to seek out men who could protect, provide, and survive. Emotional safety is a modern need. But the primal code isn't modern. It's ancient. It still values boldness over kindness, mystery over comfort, unpredictability over routine. This is why some women struggle in peaceful relationships. Not because the relationship is wrong, but because the stimulation they're wired to seek no longer aligns with the life they consciously desire. And unless they become aware of this pattern, they may continue to sabotage the very love they crave. So what does this mean for men? Should you pretend to be dangerous, act like someone you're not? No. The answer is not imitation, it's integration. Learn to embody grounded strength. Learn to balance safety with edge, stability with passion, predictability with polarity. Be the man who brings calm but carries power, who doesn't need to create chaos, but isn't afraid to stand in it. Because whether she realizes it or not, her body is always listening. And if you can speak both to her conscious desire and her unconscious code, you won't just attract her, you'll keep her. The shadow and the saint, her inner civil war. She grew up believing that being good was the goal. Be polite, be sweet, be agreeable. Don't argue, don't provoke, don't want too much. From a young age, she learned to hide parts of herself: the anger, the desire, the chaos. All the wild things she felt were carefully boxed away in the name of being lovable. And on the outside, she became what the world applauded: the saint, the nurturer, the girl every man says he wants. But inside her, another voice was growing louder. Carl Jung, Freud's intellectual descendant, gave this part of the psyche a name: He called it the shadow, the collection of all the instincts, impulses, emotions, and traits we are told to reject. The shadow is not evil. It is simply the unaccepted, the buried, the inconvenient. And for many women, the shadow becomes a storm just beneath the surface, a storm she doesn't talk about, but that shows up in who she's drawn to, what she sabotages, and the chaos she sometimes unconsciously craves. Freud hinted at this too. He believed repression was central to civilization. To fit in, we must suppress our wildness. But that wildness never disappears. It hides, waits, and eventually demands to be felt. For women, this repression is often stronger because society teaches them early on to be desirable, not disruptive, and so their internal world splits. On one side is the saint. She is calm, measured, loving, reasonable. She wants connection, commitment, and peace. On the other side is the shadow. She is raw, impulsive, erotic, and untamed. She doesn't care about rules. She wants to feel, to experience, to destroy and rebuild. And when both live inside the same woman, a war begins. This is why some women fall in love with men who are safe, but fantasize about men who are dangerous. Why they build homes with one man but keep dreaming of another. Why they start arguments when everything is going well. Why they say they want peace but stir conflict they don't understand. It's not because they're manipulative. It's because a part of them is suffocating. Imagine an angel in a golden cage. She sings beautifully, nurtures everyone, and smiles on cue. But deep inside the cage, there's a beast with fire in her lungs, pounding at the bars, screaming to be let out. That's the shadow, and the longer she's silenced, the more violently she returns. The shadow often expresses itself through attraction. A woman may consciously crave love, but her shadow craves intensity. She may say she wants a man who listens, but her shadow reacts to the man who leads. She may plan for security, but her shadow pulls her toward the unknown. Not because she wants to hurt you, because part of her wants to feel alive again. It's a dangerous cycle. If she lets the saint rule completely, life becomes numb, predictable, flat. But if the shadow takes over, chaos follows. Affairs, explosions, emotional spirals. Most women don't want either extreme, but few are taught how to hold both. So they swing from one to the other, leaving destruction or dissatisfaction in their wake. Here's the twist most men never understand. When she pushes you away, it's not always because you did something wrong. Sometimes, you're just a symbol of her saint self, the part of her that is good. And in that moment, she doesn't want to be good. She wants to break free, to taste something raw, to lose control, to feel what she buried long ago. You represent everything safe, and her shadow wants danger. But this doesn't make her bad. It makes her human. The shadow is not a flaw. No, it's a part of the whole. No, the problem is never the shadow. The problem is the denial of the shadow. And when a woman hasn't made peace with this part of herself, she will act it out unconsciously. Through self-sabotage, through attraction to emotionally unavailable men, through random emotional outbursts she can't explain. One woman described it like this: I love the man I'm with, but sometimes I feel like I need to burn it all down just to see if I still exist. That's not insanity. That's the voice of the shadow asking to be seen, to be felt, to be integrated. So what does this mean for you? It means stop trying to fix her. Stop trying to calm her down every time she reacts. Stop assuming she wants only softness. Sometimes she wants your strength, not to dominate her, but to hold her when she can't hold herself, to let her rage, not in destruction, but in safe containment. to witness her chaos, not judge it. The deepest relationships are not between saints. They are between two people who have faced their own shadows and no longer fear them. A man who has faced his own darkness can hold space for hers. He doesn't run when she's unpredictable. He doesn't shame her when she's emotional. He knows the storm is not the enemy. Suppression is. The key is not to become the dangerous man she unconsciously craves. The key is to embody depth. To understand her need for polarity, to meet her in the fire, without losing your own center. She doesn't want a mirror. She wants a balance, a man who can carry both light and shadow, because that is what she's trying to learn in herself. And if she's not yet ready to face that shadow, if she's still trapped between guilt and impulse, between duty and desire, then remember this: she's not rejecting you. She's wrestling with herself. You just happened to be standing there when the war broke loose. The mother complex repeating the pain. She knows. She tells you she wants a man who shows up, who listens, who stays, and she means it. But when she finally meets him, something feels off. She feels uncomfortable with his presence. His affection feels foreign. His kindness makes her nervous. She waits for him to change, to pull away, to punish her, but he never does. And slowly, she begins to withdraw. She feels less desire, less emotional charge, and eventually she sabotages the connection. Not because she wants pain, but because pain feels familiar. Freud believed that many of our adult relationships are reenactments of childhood dynamics, especially with the mother. He called this the mother complex. And for women, this complex becomes a hidden blueprint for love, not a conscious one, but an emotional code embedded deep in the unconscious mind. The way a girl experiences her mother, whether nurturing, neglectful, overbearing, or inconsistent, shapes her internal model of intimacy. It sets the tone for how love is given, how affection is earned, and how closeness is either welcomed or feared. If a mother is emotionally distant, the child learns to equate love with absence. If a mother is critical, love becomes conditional. If a mother is unstable, love becomes unpredictable. And these patterns don't just vanish with age. They become the default. This is why so many women unconsciously choose partners who mirror their early emotional environment, not because they want to relive the pain, but because it feels like home. Even when it hurts, it feels real. Familiarity is more powerful than logic, and the nervous system is drawn not to what is safe, but to what it recognizes. Imagine love not as a quest, but as a memory. Not something she's searching for, but something she's trying to recreate. Every smile, every argument, every silence is unconsciously compared to her earliest emotional experiences. She doesn't realize she's doing it. She just knows when something feels right or off. And often, what feels right is actually what she already knows, even if it's toxic. That's why she might feel more chemistry with the man who withholds than with the man who shows up. Why she clings to someone who keeps her guessing. Why she keeps returning to the one who wounds her, while pushing away the one who would never dare. It's not that she doesn't want love, it's that she's chasing the kind of love she was trained to expect. One woman shared that every time she dated kind, emotionally available men, she grew restless. But the moment she dated someone cold, distant, or emotionally unavailable, she felt consumed. It wasn't until years of therapy that she realized her mother was emotionally absent throughout her childhood. Her body had memorized that pattern. And even though it made her suffer, it made her feel alive. This is the tragedy of the mother complex. It builds an internal map that leads not to healing, but to repetition. And unless she brings that map to the surface, she will follow it blindly. She'll keep finding the same man in different bodies. She'll keep playing out the same script, hoping for a different ending. But the ending won't change, because the characters haven't. Here's where it gets more painful for men who love her. You might be the safest person she's ever known. You might offer her everything she said she wanted. You might love her without conditions, and still, she will drift. Not because you lack anything, but because the unconscious doesn't crave peace, it craves familiarity. And if peace is unfamiliar, it will feel wrong. You may find yourself asking, what did I do, or why wasn't I enough? But the truth is, you were enough. You just weren't the pain she was trained to call love. And the more you try to love her better, the more it might push her away. Because the kindness you offer exposes a painful truth. Love doesn't have to hurt. But for her, that idea is terrifying. Because if love isn't pain, then everything she learned, everything she clung to, everything she used to survive becomes a lie. And letting go of that lie feels like death. Think of it like this: if she grew up swimming in rough waters, calm seas won't feel safe. They'll feel suspicious, empty, like something is missing, and she'll create waves just to feel like herself again. That's not because she wants drama. It's because her nervous system is calibrated for emotional turbulence. So what can you do? You can't save her. You can't force her to rewrite the script. You can't love her into healing, but you can understand. You can stop personalizing her distance. You can stop thinking her rejection is a reflection of your worth. It's not. It's a reflection of her programming, and you can decide whether you want to stay. Not out of hope that she'll change, but out of clarity about who she is and where she's at. Some women will wake up. They'll see the patterns. They'll do the work. But others will keep chasing the ghost of a mother's love they never received. And if that ghost still haunts her, she may never fully see you. This is the quiet heartbreak of many men who love deeply and still lost, not to another man, but to a memory, a wound, a script written long before they met. And no matter how gentle, strong, or committed they were never cast in the lead role. Because in her mind, love was never about connection. It was about reenactment, not a new beginning, but a familiar ending. And the one thing she couldn't accept was peace. The Game of Depth 3 Psychological Laws Freud never said aloud. Freud never wrote a handbook for men. He never outlined a strategy to win in love or maintain power in a relationship. But hidden between the lines of his work lies a quiet code, a deeper understanding of what draws people together, what keeps them bonded, and why some relationships survive storms while others drown in calm waters. And while Freud focused on unconscious desires, his insights offer 3 psychological laws that every man should understand, even if they were never spoken aloud. These are not tricks. They're not about manipulation. They're about alignment with human nature, especially the part of us we try hardest to deny. These laws apply when logic fails, when affection fades, when what she says no longer matches what she does. These laws hold the key to something most men lose without realizing: presence, polarity, and power. Law 1: want less, get more. The first law is simple in principle, but incredibly difficult in practice. The less you need her, the more she will feel drawn to you. Not because she wants to be neglected, but because emotional neediness is repellent to the unconscious mind. When you desire something desperately, you send out an energy of lack. And that lack is read not as passion, but as pressure. Freud taught that the unconscious craves what feels scarce and resists what feels certain. Certainty is safe, but it's also static. The more she feels you clinging, chasing, hoping, the less space she has to feel desire, because her desire depends on your autonomy, your rootedness, your ability to walk away. This isn't about coldness, no, it's about inner sufficiency. The man who carries himself as if he already has enough creates intrigue. He becomes the object of curiosity. He triggers her primal brain, the part that scans for value, status, independence. The moment you overinvest emotionally, before she's fully chosen you, she begins to drift. Not because she's cruel, because attraction dies in the presence of desperation. One man told a story of how he pursued a woman relentlessly. He sent gifts, checked in constantly, tried to meet every need she mentioned. She thanked him repeatedly, but her interest faded. Then she started pulling back and eventually left. Months later, he saw her in a new relationship with a man who barely texted back, took days to plan anything, and didn't try to impress. She was obsessed. What happened? The second man didn't chase. He didn't place her on a pedestal. And that absence of pressure allowed her to project value onto him. Her desire was not pulled by kindness, it was pulled by perceived power. The man who needed her less held more value in her mind. Law 2, be mysterious, not logical. The second law cuts deeper. Most men try to win a woman's heart by being clear, open, and reasonable. They explain themselves, they justify, they reassure. But what they don't realize is that mystery is magnetic, while logic is forgettable. Freud explored the power of mystery through dreams, symbolism, and suppressed desire. He knew that the unconscious speaks in riddles, and what is mysterious engages the imagination. A man who reveals everything leaves nothing for the unconscious to wonder about. But a man who maintains depth, who leaves certain things unsaid, certain emotions unspoken, certain stories unfinished, invites curiosity. The mystery isn't about playing games. It's about allowing space, the space for her to interpret, imagine, and pursue. That space is where attraction grows. When everything is known, certainty replaces tension, and tension is the root of desire. Think of the novels women love, the brooding figure, the silent protector, the one with a past he never explains. Why do these characters pull her in? Because her mind fills in the blanks. Her emotions get involved in the unknown. She projects onto that silence her fantasies, her hopes, her needs, and in doing so, she becomes attached. One man shared that he rarely spoke about his past, not out of avoidance, but because he didn't need to. He wasn't secretive. He was selective, and the women he dated constantly leaned in, asking, wondering, trying to uncover him. He wasn't withholding affection, but he didn't offer everything up front. That made him unforgettable. If you want to remain in her unconscious long after the conversation ends, don't explain yourself. Reveal yourself slowly, with depth, with pauses, with restraint. Because what is mysterious doesn't just attract, it lingers. Law 3, hold frame even in chaos. The third law is the foundation of masculine energy. It is not about domination or control. It's about presence. When emotions run high, when she lashes out, pulls away, tests your patience. The man who holds frame doesn't collapse. He doesn't react with anger, need, or retreat. He stays centered. Freud's analysis of ego and id shows us how unstable emotion can hijack behavior. And yet, the man who doesn't mirror that instability becomes a lighthouse in the storm. He offers something few women ever experience: containment. Not suppression, but grounded space. A place where her chaos doesn't destroy trust. Most men lose power when emotions spike. They argue, they chase, they try to fix. But the deepest power lies in non-reactivity, in breathing slowly while she panics, in listening calmly when she accuses, in remaining steady while she pulls away. This doesn't mean you tolerate disrespect, and it means you don't allow her emotional waves to drown your clarity. When she feels you're calm during her chaos, she begins to relax, because she's no longer fighting alone. She's dancing with someone who doesn't lose rhythm. One woman said, "The moment I knew I loved him was when I tried to push him away and he didn't flinch. He stayed soft but strong. He didn't lecture me or chase me. He just stayed." That did something to me. That's the power of frame. Holding frame is not about pretending. It's about embodying emotional depth. It's about being the anchor when the sea gets wild. The more you collapse into emotion, the more she loses trust, not consciously, but instinctively. The unconscious sees collapse as weakness, and weakness kills attraction. The man she cannot possess. Here is the twist that changes everything. Women are not drawn to what they understand. They are drawn to what they can't quite grasp. The man they can't fully possess. The one who remains slightly out of reach, not in access, but in identity. She wants to feel like she's discovering you layer by layer, and that the discovery may never end. That is not about being unavailable. It's about being deep enough that no label, no moment, no expression can ever fully define you. The man who cannot be fully explained becomes the man who cannot be forgotten. Freud didn't teach men how to attract women, but he taught us something far more powerful: how to understand the unconscious patterns that shape desire. And when you stop living on the surface, when you start acting from depth, when your words align with self-respect, not desperation, everything changes. Because in the end, women are not looking for perfect. They are not looking for polished. They are looking for presence, for depth. For the man who knows his worth without proving it, who doesn't beg, who doesn't chase, who doesn't collapse. The man who wins is the man who doesn't need to. Look into the mirror. Her mind is also yours. By now, you've walked through the 5 hidden truths Freud never directly told us, but left like clues scattered through the corridors of the unconscious. We began with the idea that her words are only the surface, that beneath every "I love you" and "I'm fine" lies an entire emotional ecosystem shaped by forces she cannot always name. The unconscious, that silent pilot beneath the surface, steers her toward actions she may later regret but couldn't stop at the time. Then we saw how biology whispers beneath her logic, how hormones override her intentions, well, how ancient chemistry, built for survival, still pulls her toward danger even while she prays for peace. We realized that her body isn't broken, it's following a blueprint that predates civilization. We entered the battlefield within her, the war between the saint and the shadow. The polite, presentable self she's trained to show, and the wild, raw, instinctual self she's told to hide. And when that shadow is denied, it doesn't disappear, it takes over. It drives her toward contradiction, chaos, and depth she can't explain. We explored how her relationship with her mother, the first experience of love, quietly scripts her future bonds. How she may sabotage your care, not because she doesn't value it, but because she never learned to recognize it. To her, pain feels like love because that's what love looked like when it first arrived. And finally, we uncovered the 3 psychological laws of depth that Freud hinted at but never named. Want less, and you gain more. Reveal less, and you stay mysterious. react less, and you become unshakable. These laws are not tactics to control her, they are principles to stay in command of yourself. But now comes the real question, because understanding her is only half the story. Everything you've seen in her, the contradictions, the emotional swings, the buried fears, is not just hers. It lives in you too. The unconscious, the biology, the shadow, the parental wounds, the need to control, the fear of loss. These are not feminine flaws, they are human truths. And the more you seek to master them in her, the more you must be willing to face them in yourself. And you see, the real work isn't decoding her. It's looking in the mirror and asking, where am I not free? What part of me chases what hurts? What emotion do I suppress to stay likable? What pattern do I repeat because it's familiar, not because it's true? The mind of a woman is not a puzzle to be solved. It is a mirror. And every time she confuses you, triggers you, pulls away from you, or draws you in so deeply you forget who you are, that is the moment life is trying to show you something, not about her, but about you. Do you chase because you're afraid to be alone? Do you collapse because her chaos mirrors your own suppressed emotion? Do you try to fix her because you never learned how to sit with your own wounds? Do you resent her confusion because you fear the same confusion lives inside you? This is the part Freud understood better than most. We are not fully aware of what moves us. We walk through life thinking we are choosing, when in reality we are replaying. We love as we were taught. We react as we were conditioned. We speak as we were modeled. And unless we become conscious of the unconscious, we will keep acting from a script we didn't write. So what do you do now? You stop seeking power over her, and you start building power within yourself, and you stop analyzing her every word, and start observing your every reaction. You stop begging for her attention, and start asking why her absence shakes you so deeply. Because the more you know yourself, the less control others have over you. And the more you face your own shadow, the less threatened you are by hers. The final truth is this: you are not here to fix her. You are here to remember who you are. And once you do, once you hold that frame, walk with that depth, and stop needing her to fill your emptiness, something strange happens. She sees you, not just as another man, but as a mirror of the one thing she craves most: freedom from the prison of her own unconscious. She won't say it. She may not even know it, but she will feel it. And when she does, it won't be your words that change everything. It will be your stillness, your clarity, your depth, because in the end, she can't control what's inside her. But you can learn to master what's inside you. So I'll leave you with one question. Are you truly loving her? Or are you just running from the part of yourself you still refuse to face?